Okay. All right. Awesome. We're live. Hello, Jamila. I'm so excited to have you on my show today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited for our conversation.
Yeah. So just if you are joining us on LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook for that matter, just drop in the chat. If you're watching this on a live stream or you're coming back after the fact, put in where you're from, maybe what retailer you work for would be nice, but we'll probably find you on LinkedIn. But let us know where you're coming from. And also, I always say this at the beginning because you might not watch the whole thing. If you like this conversation, please share it with everybody. Sharing is caring. And, why do we come on here to share information with my network is so that we can get good information out there. Everybody's always looking for resources and to learn and to grow. And so I request that all the time. I'm not shy about that. So definitely share this. Just hit the repost button, right? It's so easy to do. Anyway, with that being said, I'm really excited about this conversation today. I'm really excited how we met each other through, anyway, that's a whole nother story, through somebody on LinkedIn. But I just love LinkedIn because you meet the most amazing people on it. But before we dive into the conversation today, Jamila, introduce who you are, what you do, what is ParlaRetail, and how did it come about so that my network can get introduced to you in ParlaRetail.
Sure. Hi, April's Network. Thanks for joining us today. So I'm Jamila. I'm the founder of ParlaRetail. And I have spent my entire life in retail. I was born into a family of multiple generations of people running retail businesses. So really grown up being both on the floor, working with customers, as well as a lot of the back office, whether it's training staff or looking at supply chains, implementing ERPs, the full spectrum. So I have, I just have kind of a real love and connection with retail in the industry. And I always say that, I love stores and I love the conversations that you can have with people inside the stores, the salespeople.
Yeah.
So how do we go from family business to ParlaRetail? So coming from a traditional retail background, I really, I appreciate the balance of stores where you've got product, there's kind of an ambiance you're building, and then there's salespeople. But this beautiful balance only exists within the stores. And we know that the customer, all of us are online. We're digital first. So the idea behind Parla was really, how do we help retailers create an experience where they can take the drivers of the store out of the store and bring them to where the customer is, which is online. Mm-hmm. And when we think of the driver of the store, we are really focused on the salesperson.
Yeah.
Which I know you know very well, April. We know that salespeople are really important to the customer shopping journey. McKinsey and Business of Fashion just released their annual report, and they have this great stat that 75% of shoppers are likely to spend more once they've had a high quality interaction with salespeople. So we really looked at how do we bring the salesperson to the customer. And with Parla, we do this through live video, which again is a medium that we are now extremely comfortable with. Yeah. And through live video calls, the customer who's shopping online can connect with that salesperson who is in store. So if I'm shopping for a new fridge, I need to understand maybe what are the right brands in my price range, what are the features that I'm thinking about. Maybe I want to see how an ice maker works. Normally, I would have to probably plan a visit to a store, get in my car and drive there. But with Parla, I can now be sitting in my office. I can jump on a video call and I can talk to that salesperson who could be maybe in another city or even state or country. So we're really looking at how we can help retailers bridge the online experience with these wonderful attributes of being in store.
I love this idea. And I remember I was supporting a retail chain through the pandemic. That's one of the reasons I lived in New York for a couple of years. And I remember them everybody at that time was like, we need to get our salespeople online. Like, we need to get our salespeople on WhatsApp. We need to get them on Zoom. We need to get them through any type of medium to do video calls because you couldn't walk into the store at that time. So did that kind of push this forwards, or were you thinking about this idea before that happened?
So we had been working with salespeople for a while, and then with COVID, it just created the push basically to say the salespeople and customers, are still connecting, but the salespeople don't have a way to actually access what inventory they can sell or even process a transaction. We can't log any of this into our CRM systems to then market better to this customer. So this kind of created the, I guess like the seed of video was planted, and we just saw that video has now become a very standard way that we all communicate with each other.
Yeah, I mean, Zoom, like really, like why didn't I buy shares in Zoom before? Like literally I'm on it all day. But when you think about this idea, right, of like somebody, sitting in their office, and like I did watch the video the other day, and I was like, that is really cool. Like I'm literally sitting there, I can just push a button and then, somebody pops up. So does it feel like it's kind of like on-demand retail, like on-demand training or on-demand, like TV, like we all watch Netflix, like we have this instant access to it. So is it kind of on-demand retail, and like what is this going to do for retail, do you think?
Yeah. So it's 100% on demand. So our on-demand product is called Parla Connect, and the idea is exactly what you're saying. There's a button on the retailer screen that says start video call, and when you, the customer, click it, a salesperson magically appears on the screen. It's very similar to the idea of calling a store, where you can call a store and an actual person will answer. But of course, with video, you see the person. It's a lot more interactive. It's a lot more immersive.
Yeah, it's a lot more
personal. Super personal. It's hyper personal between the two. Yeah. So for retailers, we're really trying to help them accelerate the customer journey. So that the customer journey is long. There's at least 8 to 12 touch points before a customer will purchase. Yeah. We know that the cost of acquiring customers just keeps increasing. And for when you jump on a video call, you're essentially meeting the customer at a point where they're at consideration. So rather than, rather than losing them to maybe going to do more research or going to look at another retailer's website, you can connect them with your product expert. They can ask their questions, they can get recommendations, and they can essentially make sure that they're purchasing the right item, and they can basically move to checkout much faster. And because of these conversations, like you said, super personal, really high touch, it gives the salesperson the opportunity to even suggest additional items. So there's an opportunity to increase your basket size, add-ons, etc.
So you've created something that is helping the in-store experience and connect the customer with the associates in store. So what do you say to people that say bricks and mortar's dead and digital is going to take over and e-com? Because I know that the statistics in Europe, I was at a conference recently, one that we had hosted actually in Microsoft, and there was a guy, Jack Stratton from the UK, he forecasts trends and he books around the world with different retailers, but he's in Europe. So he gave us a statistic about the online sales percent versus in Europe and the UK versus the US. And it was quite a bit higher than the US. Don't know why, didn't dig into it. But what do you say to people that say, yeah, bricks and mortar's dead, why are you doing that to help the stores? Because it's a conversation that keeps coming up all the time with people in my network.
I think it's two things. One is, bricks and mortar is not dead. I don't think it's dead. We know that customers are going back to stores the way they were pre-pandemic. We know opening stores and store expansion continues to be a big strategy. Restoration Hardware just opened their first store here in the UK. Aritzia continues to expand with double digits quite regularly, their footprint. So we know that retail is not dead. And I think the conversation is not about why are we helping the stores? Why are we not helping digital? I don't think this is about one channel versus the other. It's not a competition.
Right.
I think that in order for the customer to win and the salespeople to win, which means the brand is winning, these channels have to work together. And I'll give you a great example. We work with Nebraska Furniture Mart, which is very famous for their handshake deal when they were purchased by Warren Buffett. So they're part of the Berkshire Hathaway group. And the NFM team understand very well that their salespeople are extremely valuable to the customer shopping journey. And so they have created teams and workflows that allow these salespeople to be accessible by any customer. They don't have to be physically walking into a store. So through the NFM website, a customer can jump on a live video call. They can connect with that salesperson, whether they're in Omaha or they're in Dallas, and they can now have that same in-person shopping experience, great customer service, really knowledgeable staff, the way that they would as if they were physically together in the store. So I think that's a really great example of why would we save the stores and focus on the stores, but it's how do we help bring what's unique and valuable from our stores to every customer, no matter where they're located.
Yeah, I just connected with somebody at Nebraska Furniture, actually, because we're doing a real nice thing right now and just giving away the Positive Effect book. So if you see this in the feed and you want a book, just put a comment underneath it. And they're like, why are you giving away the book? I'm like, because it makes an impact and we just want to help more leaders. And I think somebody just said, yeah, send it to us through LinkedIn the other day. It's funny because the thing about retail that I find is fascinating. There's so many brands. There's so many retailers. And I might know one, you might know one, but we go, oh, I hadn't heard of that. Yeah, we know the Aritzias and we know, the big ones, yeah. But a lot of them, you just kind of learn through conversation about other brands. And I love that about retail. One of the things that I obviously work on now after running stores for so many years is just working on culture and making sure that the managers of the sales teams are good managers, know how to lead, know how to manage, know how to train them, because that's really important. I mean, that was my biggest takeaway of running stores. So what do you think about positive work culture, and how do you manage this at Parla as you grow? And also how do you support, and does Parla support through this experience with the stores? Do you think that aids and helps to that positive work culture? That was three in there, but
So for us, work culture is very important. We're a growing team. Our team is not always in the same place. So staying connected and feeling connected to each other is really important. I personally believe that whether it's your home life or work life or even the running club that you are part of on the weekends, the people around you make you enjoy the experience. They make you succeed. They make you want to work harder, play harder. So I really believe that the people around you are really important to creating positive work environments and positive outcomes. For me, I'm always very inspired by companies that have incredible retention. So one of our advisors is from Brunello Cucinelli, the luxury cashmere company in Italy. And they, similar to NFM actually, they will have multiple generations that have worked for the company. So you'll have a father who was there and now the daughter also works in the business. And I think what I've learned from these companies is that they really respect the values of the people that they employ. So the people that they employ don't ever feel like they're in conflict between work versus home. So for example, something as simple as maybe your child is sick and you need to, rather than stressing out and figuring out childcare because you need to be in the office for a 10 a.m. meeting, there's an understanding that you take care of your family, no stress, and we know that when you figured it out, you'll come back to work and you'll deliver what you need to deliver. And I think that empathy and that it's just a real respect for your employee and what's important to them, I think gives people a lot of freedom to then feel comfortable in their space and not have conflicts internally about what they should be doing versus what's expected of them.
Yeah, that's a key. That's a really good example, actually. And a lot of times, I actually these days don't really need to go to a store to figure it out. If somebody calls me and says, I can't find staff, there's no good staff out there, like we keep losing people, can you come and help me hire? And I think, well, I could help you hire, but if you have this ongoing problem, it's usually not that. It's usually a leadership issue or a culture issue or this kind of example that you've shared, because people don't want to work in an environment where they don't feel like they can bring their whole self to work, feel valued, feel pressured. They want to feel heard, listened, and they need to be nurtured, right? We work in a people-driven business, and our people engaging with the clients and the customers front-facing every day are the ones that really do a lot of the work. So I think treating people fairly and making them feel comfortable that, I can take care of home first is so important. And, working in sales for a long time and the pressure of sales, right, can make people act and do crazy things. I've seen it all. But I just want to that's such a good point, and just make sure that people remember that. So kudos to the companies that are doing that out there, especially sounds like they're doing a great job of that. What do you believe, Jamila, will keep retail stores innovating and bringing clients into the stores versus just shopping online?
I think brands have started to rethink what the purpose of the store is. It's no longer just a place to essentially purchase inventory. It's not just about that act of walking in, getting whatever size of, running shoes you need and walking out. So we have a lot of great examples of, Nike has the running club, so they've created community that's about playing sports and activities. Going back to Aritzia, they have cafes and they have styling services. So even when we think about how malls have completely evolved, where it's not just about the convenience of accessing a bunch of stores in one place, these brands, I think, are realizing that they can engage with customers and offer a lot more than just the actual product that they're producing. So I think that retail inherently has something creative and innovative to it. If you just think that you have to present new product every season, like you're on just the act of choosing what you're going to show to customers, there's creativity in there. I think stores are an extension of that. So there is an ability for retailers to be creative, have fun in that space, offer something interesting to the customers that just keeps people engaged. I was in one of my favorite stores that I've been to this year is the new Arc'teryx store in Soho in New York. Have you been there?
Yeah.
It's amazing. I thought that, yes, it had a little, it has a little coffee shop in the back, which is nice as you think about hiking and you want to have a nice warm drink after. But I think that they've done really something amazing with being able for customers to explore and discover product in a really interesting way. So they have huge spaces for their pre-owned items. So there's a real wonderful hunt that you have in looking at these wonderful old Arc'teryx pieces. You can explore the Valence collection. You can see the people in the workshop repairing waterproof coats. So I think that they've done a great job of creating a store environment which allows the customer to really understand the breadth of product across different value propositions, understand the quality, and really connect with the brand in a very immersive way. And then, of course, the salespeople they're so friendly, and it just connects all the dots. So I think retailers inevitably are creating innovative experiences with their formats, and I think we're seeing a lot of great examples, which is pushing everyone else in the industry to think about how they can connect and offer something quite interesting, because stores are the place where you can differentiate yourself.
This is it, yeah. And I love the whole resale piece. I'm a big advocate for resale, thrift, sustainability. I grew up in an antique shop. Everything that was in our house was pre-owned by somebody else. We never bought new. Everything had a price ticket on it. And, you know, my daughter's a thrifter and she's had a thrift shop since she was in high school at 16. She used to go down the street, buy it at Value Village, and then put it online and send it out with a little bow and like mail it to people. So I think that there is an opportunity there for other brands to kind of learn from what they're doing, because how do you do it and do it well? I know I've seen like ThreadUp go into Macy's, but it was an awful, terrible experience, like stuck at the back of the store and looked like it was like all the clearance stuff. It should have never that. I did see that Gap's doing a partnership with ThreadUp. I think I read that the other day online, so that's kind of interesting. So I think there's other ways of bringing that piece into it. One of the stores that I saw that's really innovative, I actually met the founder of it the other day, is Future Store in London. They just opened on Oxford Street. Have you seen that store?
Well, I will definitely visit.
It's a full digital store, like walls, ceiling, floors, everything's digitalized. So you can literally do a pop-up or do media in there. Like somebody, like an LVMH could do a pop-up, and Nike could do a pop-up, but it's not like a normal pop-up. So it's pretty cool. And I think they're going to open more stores. So I want to give him a shout out because he's doing something quite different, innovative in the space. So that's really cool. What else haven't we talked about? What's something that's on your mind that just keeps you up at night when you're thinking about, you know, growing your business or the industry that we're in? What's something that keeps Jamila Jamani up at night? That wasn't on the pre-read, but I love asking these questions.
So one thing that I'm very excited about with what video can do for retail is how we can essentially create an environment where people can work from any location. So we know that hybrid work is normally associated with office jobs, and retail means you have to work in a store and commute to Oxford Street, for example.
Right.
I think what we're seeing with the power of video in terms of how it can really create connections with customers, it can, you know, even like surpass in-store KPIs in terms of sales conversion and basket size. For me, I really think about a future where salespeople can work from home and they can offer the same experience and support and advice and, you know, conversation that they would in store, but they can do it from any location. So that's something that keeps me up at night, not in a stressful way, but in a, you know, I'm excited for how the industry is changing and what it will look like in another 10 years.
Yeah, that's such an interesting concept. And, you know, why not, right? Like if they could have access to the right tools and be able to communicate with their client, what's to say that they can't? I mean, when I worked at Apple, I mean, I walked around all day selling Apple products to everybody I knew because I'm such a fan of what they do. And literally there was a way for me to, you know, engage with somebody and do it from wherever I was. Imagine unleashing that power for your brand. I know I have a featured person in my video, right? But yeah, so I think unleashing that power would be pretty incredible for a brand if they could figure that out. Do you know anybody that's actually doing that yet, or is it not there yet?
Well, I mean, we have people who have stores like in London, but they have retail. They have not retail, but they'll have back office teams in the US, and the US teams, because they have product knowledge, they'll jump on these calls with customers. Just even from a logistics perspective, it allows them to cover more time zones.
Right. So fascinating. So much innovation in the industry right now. And for, you know, you being in it as long as you have, and I say bricks and mortar, never going to be dead. I think they're just evolving. And I think if you can innovate and bring the right tools in to support your teams, that's what matters, because store teams deserve to have the tools that are going to help them build those relationships. And it's funny, I just did a post on LinkedIn this morning and I put a picture of a vacuum in it, which is very not high tech, but you know how many times I would take over stores and walk into stores, and if I bought that team a vacuum, it would just make them feel like they won $1 million because they didn't have to floor with a crappy old brush. It sounds really stupid and really basic, but these things that make everybody's job, whether it's ParlaRetail, where you're connecting with the client, or you're giving them the basic fundamentals of helping them do their job, if we can do that, we're going to continue to offer a great work environment and build amazing people that can build your brand, because people build your brand every day with how they interact with your customers. I truly believe that.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I agree also.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you. We're going to start wrapping up. But thank you so much for being on. It was such a pleasure. Can't wait to learn more about ParlaRetail. And I'm going to say again, if you find this on the podcast, if you find it wherever you find it, just share it with somebody in your retail network. Sharing is caring. And we'll see you again on another live stream soon.
Thanks so much, April. Bye.